Hi guys, might help if I actually put myself on the stage. I've got a bit of a croaky voice today, guys. I think I'm succumbing to the virus that my kids had over the last week. So I'm feeling okay, but I might sound a bit croaky. It's also the end of a therapy day, so I have been talking a lot today. So I am excited about tonight, guys. I am super excited because I think that we may have a bombshell. We may have gold here. Now, caveat, I have been only working on this today. I literally was in the line at KFC getting my junk food for lunch today when I looked at this discovery map in a bit more detail and started to engage in my usual questioning process of what's happening while chatting to my two best friends, ChatGPT and Perplexity AI. I'm not ashamed to say they are often my partners in crime because they help me to understand things that I don't know, and I use my critical thinking and questions to grill them and see whether my theories and speculations hold up to logic and fact. So I'm giving that disclaimer though, because usually I would like mull on something for a few days before presenting it, just so that I can kind of make sure that I've dotted all the I's and crossed the T's, because I have been known to get excited about things and throw them out into the interweb. I don't know. Anyway, and then later recognize that I was wrong. Goodness, I was wrong. Because sometimes we get excited and we jump into things and we go, oh my gosh, I found something. And I definitely have done that a few times. So bear with me, guys. If there is stuff in here that's inaccurate, if I'm off track, if this subsequently turns out to be not true or useful, I apologize. But I still think that it's worth looking at, and I think we'll have some decent snarkiness that happens today, because of course we're back to the same old people. We're reviewing the same old people's work, and goodness, if I was doing an audit on some of these people, which I can, I guess I really am, they would not be very happy. Anyway, let me just check in. Is everybody hearing me okay? I am at work today, so the internet is a lot better here. Just Diana, I know you're in here, my wonderful mod Diana. Sorry as well, guys. I'm going live every day at the moment. This is a lot, but it won't continue because I do have other things I've got to do. But thanks, Diana, for being here again, because I know it's the wee hours of the morning for Diana and probably for a lot of you guys. It's 9 p.m. here, so I'm actually in a good space to have a chat. Hey again, Teresa. All my buddies are coming back in again today. So we are getting back to the case today, back to this, to where the snark is warranted. Remember, the snark is not warranted for Kathy Allen or for us in the community. The snark is warranted, however, for an investigative process that was so flawed, it is beyond comprehension. So we got some side-eyeing to do tonight, guys. Please have a chat with me as I talk. I will watch the chat as much as I can, because this is all new and I do want to know if I'm on a track that makes sense or if I'm like just completely throwing stuff out that just makes no sense. Okay, so let's get into it. So today is reviewing the defense discovery map, or at least part of it, looking at the Ting phone sales and more about Rick's phone. You know I'm obsessed with Rick's phone, aren't I? Because I keep going back to his phone. It started with the IMEI Mead Hex stuff, and then it went into the geofencing stuff, and now I am going into the synthesis of all of that in this discovery map. And Erin says soul group gatherers, no matter the geographical distances. I agree. I like that term, soul group. I love it. Beautiful. Okay, so let's get started, guys. We have Daisy again today. She still has her side eye. Who's with her? Put your hand up if you're with Daisy, because Daisy absolutely thinks that there is a lot to side-eye again today. So I always give the same disclaimer. The presentation is just for educational and discussion purposes. The views expressed are my personal opinions and interpretations of publicly available information. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a legal professional. I'm not a digital forensics expert. I'm just a pain in the ass to this investigative team. And nothing here should be taken as legal advice, expert testimony, or a definitive statement of fact. This is not necessarily factual. It is speculation. I think that it's based on pretty good logic, but it is not me saying that I am 100% right. And all individuals mentioned are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, because unlike what happened to Rick Allen, we believe in due process here. I have an additional disclaimer because I know this will come up otherwise. We have to remember that this document we're looking at today is the leaked discovery map. It's a defense document. It is not necessarily a full and accurate representation of the actual discovery in this case. So I really want to caveat everything I say with that. We don't know if there are missing details in this discovery map that were actually part of discovery or were later provided as well, because I believe this document's dated maybe March 2024. But there's some notable absences that I feel are most likely missing from the actual discovery too. Oh, guys, I'm so excited about this. I hope I'm actually right on this, because this is gold. And I know I say that every time, but I think I've had some gold, haven't I, guys? I'm gonna own it. I think we've had some real gold on this channel, right? Okay. Why is there always something missing? Well, that's the story of this case, isn't it? Hey, RC99, thanks for joining us. Because we have the missing chip. We have the missing phone. We have the missing geofencing info and cast report. There is always something missing when it comes to this case. And in this case, again, we can see from this discovery map, there just doesn't seem to be any reference to the geofencing info or the cast report. Now, you will see some geofencing info in the discovery map. And I'm not going to show you guys a whole discovery map today. You can access that. I found it on X, even though my mods told me not to go on X, but I did. I turned off comments, guys, okay? But I found it on X. Yellow Jacket is the person who provided the link on X to this document, and I looked through it all. I'm not going to go through it detail by detail. I had initially planned to do that, but the reason I'm not going to do that is, A, I don't understand all the details on it, but B, I have a nice theme to stick to today, and there's enough gold for, I think it's 30 something slides. So I don't think we need anything else to look into today, but I'll absolutely go back through it with a fine-tooth comb. Don't you worry. But one of the things, and this is not actually going to be the full focus of today, but one of the things I did feel was missing, and I could be wrong because some things didn't have dates on them, but I could not see the 2019 cast report or geofencing info. And that really tallies up with things that Jennifer Auger did say at the July 30 and August 1 hearings. This stuff seems to be missing and or buried, because Nick McClelland says it's not missing, it's available, they just didn't search very well. Interesting when somebody is accusing other people of not doing a good job of searching when they are the ones who said they lost the lead sheet, right? Okay, anyway, I told you, I'm on fire with snark tonight, guys. So what we are going to have a closer look at today is this section here. I did a screenshot. There is more to it than this part, but this is the part that I have focused on. And yes, you don't need to understand all the annotations on it. This is what you use ChatGPT for, guys. But we're going to look into the specifics here in a more plain English narrative way, because that's my style, guys, not the technical stuff, except when it comes to psychology. Okay, so let's look at this, guys, because this section shown here documents the search warrants and subpoenas for records from Ting, a prepaid phone carrier. And anybody who has ever listened to Rick Allen's initial interview, he mentions that Ting is the provider that he used. So he would use this as a phone carrier, and he would, I believe, purchase his own phones, which is why I believe they've also had subpoena for records in relation to phone sales at Dollar General. So let's go back here and have a look. We've got here search warrants, subpoenas, court orders. We've got Ting ones, which is spreadsheets. Look at all of this paper. I mean, 225 spreadsheets and PDF files. No wonder the defense found this incredibly hard to navigate. And we're going to get to this later. Navigating this wouldn't have been super helpful potentially anyway. Okay, we've got here the Dollar General subpoena response. And here we have copy of a copy. There you go. We've got our Louis Tomlinson reference again today. I'm sure we'll get a Taylor one later too, of phone sales for MB 9th of the 23rd, 2022. Now, I initially was like, who's MB? It's hard to know. I don't think MB is the person whose phone sales they're looking at. I think MB could have been the person who gave them the information or who requested the information. But what's more important is the date here, 23rd of the 9th, 2022. I always change it back to our format, guys, because that's just a couple of days after the tip miraculously appears, right? So clearly this is related to Rick Allen. They were looking into Rick's phone sales or what he bought, what phones he bought, and they were looking into his Ting accounts, okay? So the Ting entries reference two separate search warrants, a search warrant and a return listing 225 spreadsheets and PDF files. And so what this indicates is that law enforcement requested and received subscriber account information and possibly usage data from Ting, almost certainly to identify phones tied to Richard Allen or cross-reference his known references. I probably shouldn't put almost certainly. I think that was a copy and paste from Perplexity AI. I don't know that it's almost certainly, but I believe Perplexity AI. It doesn't usually lead me astray when it comes to these technical things. So clearly they were getting some info on Rick's phone. We then have the Dollar Tree General entry, which shows a subpoena and a response, with the response specifically mentioning copy of phone sales for MB 09/23/2022, which indicates investigators sought retail purchase records from Dollar General, likely searching for prepaid devices that Allen may have bought. Now, we know that Richard Allen says himself that he purchases devices prepaid. He doesn't seem to go on a plan, so makes sense, right? And the date absolutely makes sense. So these actions align with standard investigative steps for tracing a suspect's phone history and identifying possible devices not directly linked by phone number, especially when looking for cash bought or burner phones. So apparently, again, this is a investigative step that they can take to trace a phone history for somebody who they think is a potential suspect, especially when we're dealing with prepaid phones. Hi to the other people who've joined into the chat. I'm obscured it at the moment. Queen of Swords, lovely to see you. Your comments are always so heartwarming and beautiful. Thank you so much. And I think I saw Christine back in the chat as well from yesterday. Yay! Thanks for joining us. But I hope I'm not keeping everybody awake for the people who haven't actually gone to sleep yet. Queen of Swords, are you having a pretty early morning? I don't know what time it is over there, but it seems like it's probably fairly early. So these actions align. Like I said, I've already said that. So in this case, the timing and context strongly suggest these records were targeted at Allen and his phones, particularly given the proximity to his renewed status as a suspect. Sorry, guys, I'm just reading off these slides quite quickly and I'm going pretty quickly. Is everybody happy so far? Because I know yesterday I was talking too fast. Is everything kind of making sense? So just for anyone new who's just joined, we're just talking about the defense discovery map, and we're looking at a couple of entries on that map that suggest that law enforcement subpoenaed records from Ting and retail purchase records for phones from Dollar Tree General, suggesting that they were trying to look into information about Richard Allen's phone and any phone that he may have purchased. But here's the thing. as you all know, because I'm sure everybody now has listened to the geofencing presentation that I've done, of course, right? Because you guys are all my dedicated, loyal subscribers. There is no known digital footprint to the offender in this case, at least not that we know of. The cast analysis done in 2019, I believe, indicated that 3 phones pinged in the crime scene during the crime window, none of which were considered suspects, none of which were Richard Allen. So we know then, or presumably, this means the person or people responsible for the crime did not carry phones, turned off their phones, or used phones with location history turned off, or some other tool that allows their phones not to be tracked. So, straight away already, digital information and footprint doesn't seem super important in this case based on that cast report, because whoever was responsible for this crime was kind of careful from the sounds of it when it came to their phone. They didn't carry it to the crime scene, or at least not in an identifiable way. And here's the other thing. They had Rick's phone info since 2017. They had the Mead hex, and they had his phone number. So they probably checked that earlier, right? We've all suspected that for a long time. So what was the rush to try and get info about Rick's phone in September of 2022? Why all of a sudden is this such an urgent thing? Particularly given, because I know what people will say, people who believe he's guilty, they will say because he disposed of his 2017 phone. Yeah, but remember the date here, guys? 23rd of September 2022. This was, what, 2 weeks before they brought Rick in for an interview and enacted a search warrant. So at this point, Rick did not know he was on their radar. So he was not alerted that they may come and look for his phone. And they did not know Rick's 2017 phone was missing at this point. So why are they rushing in to understand whether he's purchased a new phone and get all the phone records all of a sudden? It sort of didn't add up, right? So, again, why the urgency? So, in a scenario where there is no offender digital footprint and Richard Allen has not yet been searched or notified as a suspect, it's highly irregular, apparently. Again, apparently, I'm not going to say I know for sure. I am not police or law enforcement. Happy for anybody who does know to correct if this is wrong, but it is highly irregular, apparently, for law enforcement to subpoena his Ting and retail phone purchase records before any direct confrontation or search of his home. From an investigative point of view, you wouldn't expect to find a digital footprint anyway, because, like we said just a minute ago, that is not that was never kind of seen in the cast analysis, right? And that makes the obsession with the 2017 phone, with Rick's phone, even weirder, because it's not like you're hoping to tie it to location data. There wasn't any data attached to this crime. Just reading the chat, Christine says, so I thought phone analysis was not done by FBI and CAST. Is FBI thought they used Homeland irregular also? Yeah, I don't think it was. I believe that the person who did the CAST analysis was former FBI. But the big issue here as well is that it doesn't appear that the defense received the full CAST analysis. At least they hadn't when they were arguing about the geofencing in the motion in limine hearings in late July, early August of 2024, which is just literally 2 and a bit months before trial started. So whoever did the cast analysis, I'm sure did a wonderful job, because I do believe he was former FBI and is an expert in it, but that was not handed over, and there was a lot of playing. Well, it seems like playing ignorant. Christine says these PowerPoints are summary. Thanks. Yes, absolutely. These PowerPoints are just me interpreting information. Don't take them as gospel truth, but they help me organize my thoughts so that I don't just ramble for hours on end, and also so that I stay on the point and kind of articulate it as clearly as I can, rather than adding my own lib to it, which may change the meaning of it. Erin says this is so true. Okay, awesome. I hope you guys, are following and in agreement and get what I'm kind of going on about, because sometimes I do babble and talk really quickly. And so it's not that I think you guys wouldn't get it, but I just think I am sometimes a little bit too pressured in my speech. Okay, so let's keep going, guys. I just realized I'm making it smaller on the screen. Sorry, guys. But I will put a link to this presentation up later. I haven't put it on the website yet, but happy to do that. So here's my snark. Predictive abilities of law enforcement. The 2017 phone, it will be missing because there are a lot of sidekicks in this law enforcement department, right? I mean, the psychic printing of a narrative summary 2 years before you know it's going to be important, and the psychic knowing that Richard Allen has disposed of his 2017 phone before we've even done a search warrant. It's laughable, right, guys? It's actually it would be laughable if this wasn't impacting so many people so horrendously. It's just ludicrous, right? Because this unusual sequence, that's exactly what it suggests. Given they had not searched his home, sorry, there is probably repetition on the slides too, guys, because like I said, I was really editing this right down to the last minute because I finished work at 6:30 and jumped straight into it. So there is repetition, but I think repetition's good because some of this stuff, like for me anyway, maybe not for you guys, but it feels a bit complex sometimes to get my head around all of these facts about something that isn't my forte. So given police had not yet searched Allen's home or challenged him about the 2017 phone, they could not have known the device was missing ahead of time, except by inference based on the passage of time. So, yes, we could infer that you may not have the phone from 5 years earlier, but it wasn't a foregone conclusion, right? And even then, there'd be no way to determine definitively what Allen had in his possession until a search was conducted, which is why I think this raises important questions about the legitimacy and sequence of the investigative tactics deployed beforehand. It doesn't seem like there's a routine or strongly justified reason for that level of targeted record search before Allen's statements, interview, or home search revealed missing devices, or device in this case. Just going back to the chat, Christine says, I'll pop your comment up on the screen. Cheap phones are often literally broke or trashed. Looked like you had a tiny bit of hoarding too with a box of junk phones. Well, I never hoard, lol. Yeah, Christine, I mean, I think that this family did not get rid of their mobile phones. So yes, while it is possible that the 2017 phone was trashed, or accidentally just lost by the Allens themselves. I have some other thoughts, which we'll get to. I've had the same thoughts over time, so you may already know. So let's keep going. So apparently, again, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not typical or strictly reasonable for investigators to subpoena large batches of phone carrier and purchase records before searching a suspect's home for physical devices, unless they already had clear evidence that he disposed of, swapped, or used burners, which again here, unless they have exceptional psychic abilities, we have never heard any clear evidence of why they would have made that assumption. So apparently, normally a carrier lookup would be performed using the suspect's known number before going to subpoena level. Full account record subpoenas generally come after devices are found missing or account details need corroboration. So in this case, there doesn't seem to be any urgent reason back just a couple of days after they started looking into Rick Allen to go jumping into this, right? I can't remember, what's the day that Steve Mullen takes a picture of Rick's car in the parking lot? It's around the same time, but it just seems like they just jumped into action to get all of this quite technical data before even like doing more basic things, like, they had other things that they, I'm sure, could have done, but they seemed very, very from this document, it seems like they really cared about getting this information quick, fast. And I have a theory. Just stick with it, guys. So, again, I am repeating, but they didn't know that the 2017 phone was missing. That only became clear after the search. And yet, before that search, they're already subpoenaing Dollar General for phone sales records. It isn't a generic request, it's very specific. Retail phone records don't give you much unless you know what you're trying to connect it to, e.g., a missing burner phone or swapped handset. So, why were they acting like they were worried about a phone before they even knew it was gone? This is logically odd. So now we get to the pure speculation part. Here's Daisy back with her speculation alongside me. She says, was the 2017 phone inconvenient for law enforcement? I agree, Daisy. And yes, I am talking to myself now. Were they working backwards? Was their goal to build a case around the absence of data, ensure that no exculpatory evidence could pop up, like location data from the missing phone, and sell the narrative that Alan must have gotten rid of the phone because he had something to hide? I have always found that part annoying because it would be really quite silly for him to just get rid of that phone and then keep the box of all of the other ancient phones that he has. Secondly, we would expect that there would be evidence of deviance on other phones. We don't just have our deviant era. I've said that a million times, but there's my Taylor Swift reference, guys. Hey, Deb, thank you so much for saying hello. So you can see my speculation here is that do we need to make sure that that phone is not going to be retrievable? Do we need to make sure that we find out if Rick traded that phone in, if he bought another phone, which phone he had? Do we need to make sure we have all those details? Because we don't want that phone to turn up. Because if that phone turns up, they can do some pretty good forensic analysis of that phone and figure out where Rick was or what he was doing on that day. And we don't want that, do we? Because, do we already know that Rick Allen left the trails before the crime? We know he wasn't in the crime scene area, and we've never stated that he wasn't on the trails at all that day, because if that were the case, we would want to use that, wouldn't we? We would want to use that to say, look at this man. He was premeditated. He knew what he was doing. He turned off that phone, or he turned off location services because he's a mastermind. He's a criminal mastermind. But they've never sold us that story, have they? They've just sold us the story that he deliberately lost a 2017 phone because he's suspicious. And that's probably because, I'm saying probably, I allege that is probably because his phone was cleared. Because his phone showed up on the trails that day, but it left. It left well before the girls were abducted and unfortunately came to a horrific, untimely death. And so that phone would be very inconvenient, Daisy. It would be. So is this a plausible theory? Well, I think it is, especially in light of the late discovery of the tip, the known inconsistencies in investigative timelines, the buried and suppressed 2019 cast geofencing data. They really fought hard to make sure that didn't come into trial. And the absence of a suspect device at the scene means there was no urgency to get any of this phone data, and so many more anomalies and oops moments in this investigation. Particularly when we add in that bullet, that round that is in his memory box that just, to me, looks very oddly placed. It starts to all add up, doesn't it? Because remember, guys, that in 2022, in that first interview, they escorted Rick to the police station. He was not some dangerous person. He was not some scary person that they couldn't have just invited him in. He came in without a lawyer, but they chose to pick him up and bring him there. And Lickett just keeps leaving the room, probably because he's on the phone to McClelland or whoever he needed to be on the phone to get the search warrant ready to go. And then we don't know the timing, if anyone knows the timing, but it seems as though they enacted that search warrant pretty much immediately. Did they do it while they were driving? Did they kind of go in while they were driving Rick home? Did they take Rick home and start there and then on the spot? So Rick never had a chance to find his 2017 phone. Remember, in that interview, they are very, very interested in the 2017 phone. And again, why? It has no connection to the crime. It's not really super important, is it? Right. And I understand, yes, if they could have accessed that phone, if they truly thought he was guilty, they might have thought they'd find some sort of incriminating evidence on it. But yeah, the focus is a little bit unusual, isn't it? And interestingly, they don't actually focus on the gun as much, do they? In that first interview, they focus instead on the phone and on the car because they want to match the things that they have in their guilty story to Rick Allen. The phone, the car, the parking location, the route he took that day, the clothing. They want to potentially lead him into their trap of confirming the narrative that they have about him. So just before I go on to the wait, there's more, because there is more. There's more gold coming, guys. Does that all make sense? I'm just going to read the chats. Anyone not following? Does anyone think this doesn't make sense? Does anyone think that this is illogical and that I'm making too big a deal out of something? Please tell me. No shame in telling me if you don't agree, but I'm just curious, like, is this adding up? Are we seeing how my theory has always been that there was a deliberate, potentially a deliberate losing of Rick's phone, not by Rick, but by people who wanted to frame Rick? And now this discovery map and this rush before they even had interviewed Rick and known that his phone was missing to get phone information and information about which phones he purchased, just seems like they were making sure they lined up all their ducks, making sure that they knew whether he had that phone, whether there was any information about that phone, whether he traded it in, just seeing what they potentially needed to find while enacting that search warrant in a few weeks' time. Because remember, this is a few weeks before the interview and search happens. But guess what, guys? There's more. There's always more with this case, isn't there? Well, they love to give us some more. And so let's look at something else that's gold. And I actually came across this part right as I was finishing up the PowerPoint. So I added these extra PowerPoint, whatever this is, Canva presentation. So I added these slides in the last little bit, but so they are rushed. There is repetition. I haven't had a chance to completely fact check and double check all of this. So again, let me know. Diana says it's adding up perfectly. I hope it's adding up for everyone else. Please let me know if it isn't. Happy to explain it in more detail. I am going through it pretty quick. But if anyone wants to ask any questions or figure it out more, we can do that together right now, because I'm also not the expert here, guys. I just have been thinking about this for the last few hours. But yeah, if you've got questions, if we want to do some research together, happy to do that too. And if anyone wants to join me, please let me know if you want to join me and have a chat about this and add to the snark. We've got Daisy here with us in spirit doing her side eyeing, but I'd love to chat to anyone else who's got any thoughts on this. Welcome to come on up and join me. All right, I won't keep you in suspense any longer. There is more, because despite having Richard Allen's phone, details from his original 2017 interview, including the exact mead hex unique identifiers for the phone he had the day of the murders, there is no evidence in this discovery map that police ever searched for or specifically tried to trace that phone by those identifiers, because instead their warrants and subpoenas focus more generically on his carrier account, and they did actually look at some IMEI numbers, which don't apply to this actual 2017 device type. So what I did was I asked Perplexity AI, my buddy here, to cross-check the mead hex number of Dan Doolan's narrative summary with the subpoenas and searches done as part of this discovery map. And there were a few IMEI numbers listed. Now, already I had the suspicion that those were not that phone, because remember, Rick's phone in 2017 did not have an IMEI number, but had a mead hex number. And that's to do with, I believe, the type of phone, something to do with that. Don't know the technicalities. I initially thought that was suspicious, but it's not. It did have a mead hex number. I initially thought that was transposed, but that was an error again. That was misinformation that I found online. But in fact, the mead hex number are accurate, because the only time they're referred to in the trial transcripts is, I believe, is it? I'm trying to think who it is. I think it's Liggett. It's one of law enforcement that basically says that they cross-checked all the phones that they found at the Allen residence with that mead hex number, and they couldn't find it. Okay, so they didn't say that it was the wrong number. So, why are we not searching for the information about that device? Make it make sense, guys. So this means that the investigators did not fully use the best evidence available to prove where Allen's 2017 phone was during the crime window, despite having all the info potentially needed to do so. Now, caveat here, this is 2022, so it's 5 years after, so potentially that information wouldn't be available, but they didn't, from the looks of it, even attempt it, yet they did attempt it on other devices. Actually, I'm gonna pull it. Let's pull it up, because I just was thinking about it. I'm like, what? Because I don't know the difference between all of these documents either. So maybe someone in the chat can help as well, because I just want to double check something. Thought just came to mind. You guys are literally working with me as I go through this thought process, because like I said, I've only really been looking at this today, and I've also been working today, so I haven't had a whole heap of time. I'm gonna let's share the tab. So this is a document that was dropped by Yellow Jacket, and I'm going to go to, let's do find IMEI. So yeah, if anyone knows this, absolutely let me know. But you can see here that we have search warrants attached to IMEI devices. And I don't know how, like, what's the difference? What's that? What's the Ting stuff? Anyone who is an expert, I will look into it, and I will update you guys, because I will ask my expert friends in AI, and they can give us their suggestions. I won't do it right now. I don't want to waste you guys' time, but that's my reading of this. My reading of this is that they did search for specific devices. Oh, sorry, I'm going to read the chat. So let's pop Erin's comment on. So Erin says, I think Christine, the PI, denied that possibility, but we now know that tons of stuff was hidden from them, and agreements were already signed before they started that hid the truth. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, the fact of the matter is, we can see here that there are IMEI searches, right? I don't know the dates of those searches. So I mean, this is confusing. It's hard because we don't have the full information. But I guess what I'm saying is that they do seem to have searched some devices based on the IMEI numbers. But what they haven't done is search Rick's phone. Now, obviously, I've made this point before. They could have looked into the geofencing data and the phone dumps and looked at potentially tracking the behavioral timeline of Rick based on that. That's in the geofencing presentation if you guys want more info. So this isn't new, but it's just another angle of this. It's just another, to me, nail in the coffin, right? Because this is just another time where they've shown that they just don't have any real desire, at least in my opinion, to find evidence digitally that would help potentially understand Rick's movements that day based on his phone. Okay, so given there was no digital evidence linking Allen to the crime scene and no sign of any suspicious or burner phone activity, this kind of omission can't reasonably be explained as a simple oversight. So to me, it suggests that they either ignored or avoided actions that could have provided exculpatory evidence supporting Alan's innocence. This pattern suggests law enforcement was more interested in confirming whether Alan had purchased a relevant phone rather than directly accounting for or testing the 2017 device itself. Now, I know people will say, but he disposed of it, and I can see Peter is saying that. But what we have just said is that, first of all, who knows about that? But secondly, they could have done this based on the Mead hex, the Mead. They could have done it based on his Google accounts as well, which again is just another issue. I know Yellow Jacket has talked about this before as well, that they had Google search warrants for multiple Google accounts, and yet we've only seen the Fujaka one, I think it is. So why? Because that one apparently, and again, I don't know, this is stuff I've sort of read on Twitter, so I can't sort of say that I fact checked it, but yeah, apparently that's an account he used from 2018. And that would make sense because the Google search history that we all saw as a trial exhibit, I believe, was more recent. It was from 2020 and 2021 or something, or 2022, right? It wasn't the older stuff. So, yeah, it just feels like there's this consistent pattern of like, we don't really want to know what Rick's phone in 2017 was doing. And that's interesting, isn't it, in light of what we see on that cleared lead sheet that says nothing new, phone info provided to ISP. We also know that Kathy Shank was logged in and the sheet was printed in 2019 that had his phone info on it in October 2019. And we have heard, again, I don't have confirmation of this, but this is what it says on the All Eyes Google Drive, that the cast analysis was done in, I believe, November 2019. This phone, it just keeps coming back, doesn't it? It just keeps coming back. I'm going to go back to the chat for a minute. So Erin says, I can practically hear an excited whisper. If we can only hide his phone activity, there's no way he can prove his innocence. Come on, guys. We know how to lose evidence. Yeah, I'm with you on that, Erin. I'm with you on that. Okay, let's see who else is in here. Christine's. Okay, let's go to Peter first. I'll try and go in order, guys, from here. Peter says, why didn't defense bring this up? Have they given explanation as to where the phone is? No, they haven't. I mean, we all know that the defense were dealing with a truckload of information. They were dealing with not actually getting everything they needed in a speedy manner. They were dealing with discovery that was poorly organized based on what we heard at the hearings. They were dealing with trying to explore multiple different avenues for this man who was falling apart, and they were urgently trying to get through everything and fight for their client, but also getting kicked off the case and then having to fight to get back on the case. And remember, they had to suffer the delay, right? Because they only started their work with Rick in 2022, 2023. This is years after the crimes. Law enforcement, however, have been working on this case since 2017. So they've had this head start and they have lost things. I mean, they've admitted to losing information. They've admitted to it. So at the end of the day, and I'm not saying the defense here, I'm talking about law enforcement, the defense were handicapped, and none of us could possibly know how hard that must have been, how much they were sifting through and how much they were trying to make sense of and how much they were trying to also figure out legal strategy. I mean, hindsight is 2020. We now can see potentially other strategies or avenues they could have explored, but that's because we know what's happened. We've seen this play out. It seems like the defense didn't have the same crystal ball. Sorry, guys, I laugh at my own jokes, but they didn't have the crystal ball that they could consult that law enforcement seemed to have in Delphi. Can I have the crystal ball? Please, crystal ball, tell me, who will I marry in the future? Christine says, are you confusing IMEI with IMSI burners or prefer calling cheap phone to avoid the crime inference? Do not have IMSI. I don't think so, but I could be wrong, Christine. I always say, my role here is to try to synthesize all of the different information and kind of dig into it and provide a narrative summary of it, but I definitely don't know the technicalities. So happy for anybody to chime in if they do know the answers to those questions. Thank you. I saw some other people coming in. Ake, thank you as well. I saw you being very kind over there. Let's see what else everybody's saying. So Erin's saying the defense started their entire work by agreeing that the state did not have to prove their narrative. It was never in their power to question any of the insanity, in my opinion. Yep. And let's have a look. Christine saying something about Bob Dylan. Okay, I'm not sure what that's about, but happy that you guys are enjoying the chat. Peter says they had loads to do. I agree, but the phone should have been top of the list. I totally agree with you, Peter. It should have been. And you said, I hope the defense team represent him in appeal. They know they made mistakes and will be super keen to correct it. I think they will. I think Andy has every intention of being Rick's defense team, not for the appeal, but if there is retrial. But let's just hope we get a conviction overturned here, guys. Let's just hope that's what everybody aims for in terms of Rick. I think he doesn't need to go back to trial, because I do think there's exculpatory evidence here that could still potentially be found. And Christine says, circle back on that one is identifier, the other is subscriber. Yeah, okay, I'm not sure, Christine. But yeah, I mean, we can look at it in a bit more detail, like on the full document too. Yeah, that's probably going to take me a bit to get my head around, though. When I see lots of lists of lots of numbers and like annotations, I'm always a bit like, I don't get this. My brain's like, no, put it in plain English. Not you, but just like the document. Anyway, okay, guys. Eek says Diana's crystal ball has my face superimposed in it. Okay, awesome. Are you a good source of information, Eek? Are you a good crystal ball? Okay, anyway, sorry guys, let's get back on track. So I really appreciate everybody in the chat though. Love everybody being involved and chatting, and happy to see the lurkers as well. I know that there are people who may feel a bit shy to come and join the chat, but please never feel shy. This is a safe place. This is a place of compassion and discourse. And if you disagree, you're allowed to. There is nobody who's going to get told off for disagreeing. The only thing that I censor here, guys, and that the mods will censor, is if anybody is being rude or nasty or invalidating other people. Those comments are not allowed. But anything else, we will not censor. Okay, so like I said, the pattern suggests that they're more interested in confirming whether Alan had purchased a relevant phone rather than directly accounting for or testing the device itself. So they've effectively potentially sidestepped the possibility of uncovering evidence that could have shown where Alan's phone really was during the crime and whether it could have cleared him. Because let's all agree, lead cleared doesn't just happen magically. So what were they doing? The investigative focus does not appear to focus on tracing the movements or historical usage of Alan's 2017 phone, despite having full device IDs that would allow for direct search of movement records, network connections, or forensic phone data. Instead, the effort seems pointed at discovering whether Alan purchased a new device, traded in, or otherwise replaced the original. Hence the subpoenas for the Dollar General phone sales and carrier records. So I guess what I'm getting at here is, like, were they worried? Were they worried about, when did he purchase another phone? Is he still using that phone? Is he using a different phone? Like, I don't know. I feel like there's something fishy there again, right? I can't really fully put it into words, but it feels like they were checking to see whether they could potentially cover their own tracks. Again, alleged. I'm not saying that this is a fact. By looking at the sales and account activity rather than the phone's own technical history, again, I've said this before, investigators could potentially sidestep any possibility that direct movement or location records for Alan's known device may exonerate him. So I'm repeating the same point over and over again here, guys, because I just think there's different ways of saying it, and repeating it is important. So, what's the goal? What's the goal was to learn. Guys, you can see I did not double check this, guys, because this was just being finished off in the last few minutes. So apologies, guys. But was the goal to learn if he had acquired something new, possibly to imply concealment or guilt, without risking documentation that his original phone might prove he was at the scene? So I'm actually just trying to understand myself here. Was the goal, I guess, of going to the sales records to see if he had acquired some new phone and then potentially use that to imply concealment or guilt, like they did with the lost phone? And also, for me, I also am asking the question, were they making sure they knew which phones he bought when so that they could ensure the right one disappeared? Hey, Elizabeth, thank you for joining us. Lovely to see you again. What time is it in Scotland? It's 9:50 here, guys. I'm still going strong. Got a little bit of a headache, but we're getting there. Is this an appellate issue? Now, I'm always cautious here, guys, because I've been told that I'm wrong a lot of times when it comes to the legal stuff by certain people online, and not always in a nice way. But anyway, I've always admitted I am not a lawyer. I don't even live in the same country as this, this legal system. So, I'm just speculating. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm an idealist. I really just think it's like, but if I can show clearly that this is wrong and this is not fair, if we've got all this evidence, then it's not fair. And so we should be able to appeal. And I understand that's not necessarily how appeals work. It really frustrates me that the appeals don't work that way. But anyway, I will just speculate. Hey, USA Libertarian, always lovely to see you here too. And Elizabeth Jones, it's around the middle of the day there from the sounds of it. Okay, so could it potentially be used as a strong argument for appeal? I think so, because in this case, hey, Barbara, nice to see you as well. The records seem to show that law enforcement did not make a good faith attempt to trace or analyze Rick Allen's 2017 phone using the actual technical details provided in his initial police interviews, even though this phone could have contained evidence exculpating him by showing where he was or where it was during the crime window and what he was doing during the crime window. Because most of us would agree that if his phone shows that he's checking his stocks and emailing or Googling the latest film during the crime window, it's highly unlikely then that he's the offender, right? Because otherwise now we're adding another layer of expertness to this man in the way that he commits a crime when he's never committed a crime before. Like, it's just not logical. So is this a Brady violation? I feel like it potentially represents a significant investigative gap. If the prosecution, police, or state failed to pursue or deliberately avoided evidence that could have helped prove his innocence, then that does fall under the category of a potential Brady violation. The Brady rule requires that all exculpatory evidence or the investigative steps that would uncover it must be disclosed to the defense. Now, again, I've said this around the geofencing data, I've said it around the phone dumps, and I'm saying it again here. We can see that they clearly did follow up his phone or phone details in some ways, but just not in the right ways. And again, are we going to put this down to another oops? So failing to obtain or scrutinize the phone's records when its existence and identifying details were known would potentially be seen as depriving Allen of the chance to access material evidence favorable to his defense. Apparently, numerous wrongful convictions have hinged on very similar omissions. I have come across some of them where law enforcement or prosecutors failed to gather, analyze, or disclose digital evidence that could clear a defendant. I think there was one that I came across that was notable where the conviction was overturned because they failed to get the DNA evidence. It wasn't that the DNA evidence was proven exculpatory in the end, but the very fact that law enforcement failed to get the DNA evidence meant that the conviction was overturned on appeal. So I think it's important. I know that it may still be hard, but I think it's important. And I think if we add it to all the other stuff, maybe that strengthens it as well. So if the fact pattern is fully documented and presented at appeal, it could strongly support a request for conviction reversal or at the minimum, new proceedings on the grounds of due process and Brady violations. So, in sum, a lack of effort to trace his key 2017 phone may qualify as prejudicial failure to seek exculpatory evidence with real potential, I hope, to overturn his conviction on appeal. So, I just read through that all because I wanted to try and make sure that I kind of stuck to the the facts I was going to say, but the facts that I'd looked up. Hey, Charlotte, lovely to see you again as well. The issue here is, I guess, in summary, first of all, we don't know that the defense map includes everything. So I am going to say if this is fully documented, because we don't know for sure. Someone who has access to the full discovery would be the only person that could say, well, actually, no, they never did this, or they only did this, or this is what they did. We don't have that. So I'm not going to say for sure that this is of high value for the appellate process, but I think it's worth looking into, right? Secondly, we don't know that anything that they obtained in 2022 would have shown 2017, because records aren't always held for that long, as far as I'm aware. So it could be that there is no information, but still interesting that they requested it for certain IMEIs, for example, or they requested certain information and not other things, because that suggests still, even if nothing pulled up information that was helpful, if they're going to provide some of them, wouldn't they provide all of them, if that makes sense? I hope that makes sense. Anyway, thirdly, there's a lot of suspiciousness around this process, a sequence of events that they followed around looking for the phone info and acting as though they already knew the 2017 phone was missing before they knew it. And again, I don't know that we can necessarily prove that. That would be kind of hard to prove because, it is speculative, and we could say, well, we don't know the intent behind law enforcement, and I'm sure they'd come up with some good reason that that was the practice they followed. But so I don't think that in and of itself would be easy to prove or use at appeal. But I think, again, it helps us see that same old suspicious pattern. So maybe it's more around for us to go, I think we're on the right track, as opposed to necessarily having a legal angle. So that's going back to that first issue that I kind of raised around the suspiciousness of them already looking for phone stuff when they didn't even realize the phone was missing. But the second issue, the Brady violation, I think is probably the one that potentially has more legal applicability. Okay, guys, I just talked a lot, and I talked quite quickly. I got through a lot of that quite quickly. I hope it all made sense. I'm just going to go to the chat now, and we can just have a bit of a chat about it all. So let me really open up the chat so I can see back. I think I've said hello to everybody new who's come in, so welcome to everybody who said hi, but also welcome to anyone who's popped by to say, not to say hello, but to lurk and to listen. Really appreciate you guys. So I'm going to read just more of the extended comments. Let's find. USA Libertarian says, I don't know if the defense was traumatized. They would have every right to be, but people are under-recognizing the power Gulk had as a last mover who always held the option to sabotage anything. Yeah, for sure. I think when I first started looking into the evidence with a fine-tooth comb, I think that I also fell prey to this idea of why did the defense not see this? Why did they not look at this? But, in hindsight, I think on reflection and, taking their perspective, which is something we talked about yesterday, I can totally understand. They were juggling a lot, and it's so much easier now for us because we see the full picture. But we've got to remember that when they started, they didn't have the benefit of having had a trial that's already happened and years that some of us have followed the case, not me so much, but others. So they didn't have all of that up their sleeve. And we also cannot compare what they had to the unfair advantage, I suppose, that the state had, because they could say, well, they only thought of Rick back in 2022. However, they had all of the investigation prior, and most of the people involved in this, including the prosecutor, had been involved in this case for a long time. So they have a lot of knowledge of the investigation, and the defense were really kind of they came in late, and that's not their fault. And then, of course, we all don't forget that they were pushed off the case. And USA Libertarian says the defense tried to put a lot of work into it. Yeah, absolutely. There's no I don't think many of us would say that Andy and Brad and Jennifer didn't want to try and didn't care about Rick. I definitely think that was quite obvious. And I know that they did the very best they could, and they really did care about their client. Just going to go down a little bit more. Sorry, guys, I'm not going to put everybody's comments up, just looking at like the ones that are kind of directly relevant, as much as I love all of you guys chatting and sharing. So going back to, okay, Elizabeth says, surely without the actual phone, it's just speculation. I think, Elizabeth, that you may be referring to like what I was saying before about the Brady violation. So like that, if you don't have the actual phone, if you don't have the actual data that's exculpatory, then it's just speculation. And yeah, I don't know. I think there's quite a lot of info they could have without the actual phone. And secondly, I suppose, I think legally, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, lawyers out there, or people who know the law, if it even appears that the state did not go down a pathway that could have reasonably provided exculpatory evidence, I think that is grounds potentially for appeal. So in that DNA case that I was referring to, they could no longer go back and get the DNA, but the fact was that that DNA evidence potentially could have been exculpatory, and I think that was enough to, I don't know if it was overturn the conviction or whether it went back to retrial, but yeah, I think that was considered grounds. Just going down. Hey, Charlotte, just a shout out to your mum. If she's had a hip replacement, definitely sending her speedy recovery vibes along with Diana. Just seeing if anyone else has got some. Thank you, Elizabeth, for telling everybody to hit the like. Totally appreciate that. Just going down. Diana says, I wonder when they can ask to remove Gull. Why is she still making decisions on this case? I know, it feels like there's no way to ever get her off the case. You know, it reminds me of those movies, right? You know, where like the person just keeps coming back. It's like Jaws. Again, I'm not comparing Gull and calling her Jaws, but you know, it's that kind of like, you know, just doesn't matter how many times you're like, no, I'm, you know, enough, you're done. They'll just keep coming back. I'm sure that the people who believe Rick Allen is guilty would say the same thing about us. So too. Just going down. Got USA Libertarian saying, I wouldn't have gone to trial with Gull as judge, but easy for me to say with Rick rotting in prison where they are continuing to try to extract false confessions. Yeah. Okay, guys, I can't see any more comments in terms of this hypothesis from today, Daisy and my hypothesis. But yeah, has anyone got any more thoughts? Does it sound logical? Does it sound like a bombshell to you guys? Am I making a mountain out of a molehill like I sometimes do? Yeah, I'm curious to know your thoughts. People on the replay, comment, let me know. Remember, there's no shame in disagreeing. Erin's just giving everybody a reminder not to dox anyone here, especially not yourself, because we're all too important. I agree. It's hard to know who you can trust, so don't give out personal information, guys, because I don't want anybody to suffer at the hands of anyone who wants to, you know, I guess, silence people who are fighting for Rick. So just be careful, guys. Erin, thank you. I'm going to put you on the screen. Daisy, you are spot on. I'll tell Daisy that. I know you're talking to me, Erin. I'm being silly here, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like it makes sense. I really do. Yeah, but then sometimes when things like this come to me really quickly, I'm like, have I missed something? Because, like I said, this was a revelation in just the last few hours. So, yeah. Okay. Anyone else? I know we've got quite a few people in here, so if anyone else wants to let us know what they think. Does anyone want to come and chat? I've got a little bit longer. If anyone wants to, I can definitely give you guys the invite. Actually, I'll pop it in the chat now. Let's see if I can do that. I've never done this before, guys. Copy. There we go. Paste. If anyone wants to join me and chat it out, because I just feel like I've just talked at you guys for an hour, and it's been a lot. And I feel like I've tried to put on the slides like the information in a way that gets the narrative out, and doesn't feel too many twists, like too twisted, I suppose, like too many twists and turns to follow. But I don't know if that's actually come through because, like I said, usually I would go over the slides a few times and double check if there's sort of logic and consistency in them. But this time I didn't have a chance to do that. Oh, everybody's nice and quiet, but you guys are all still here. Really appreciate you guys being here. My voice is definitely a bit croaky. Yeah. Okay. So, guys, this week, I probably won't do any more lives for the next few days. In Australia, it's holiday time, so I don't have a lot of time on my hands. I think my kids will be very cranky if I spend too much time on this case this week, as much as they care about the justice themselves for Rick Allen. But I do want to do the Hoosier Harvest Store cars stuff that I've been promising for weeks. Most of you know what I'm going to say around that because I've posted on it a gazillion times, and I have done earlier videos back before I used the format that I do now that you can certainly watch. There's probably been some evolutions of my opinion since then. I think I was a little bit more conspiratorial with the Hoosier Half Store footage earlier. Not that I'm not still saying that there are issues with it, but I think I've kind of fine tuned my hypothesis with that. So I will present that. I do want to talk a little bit about the cars at the CPS as well. Again, if you want to know more about that stuff, guys, you just have to go on the Delphi Mystery group. That's where I post a lot of stuff. I'm not using that as significantly anymore because the Delphi Mystery group was more around a safe place for everybody who wanted to talk about the case and their theories, like mystery essentially. And now I'm a little bit more dedicated to the Richard Allen Justice Project, which obviously is more around the people who believe that Rick is not guilty or, you know, have a fairly open mind about it. I know that about 50% of the Delphi Mystery group believe he's guilty, and that's totally fine. But yeah, I guess that doesn't align directly with the Richard Allen Justice Project. So I will still go in there. I'm still the moderator for there, and you'll catch all my old wild ideas and speculations and usual Daisy / Amy style, lots of excitability and verbosity and repetition. Just repeated that and stuff there. So you can certainly look there. But so Hoosier Harvest Store, CPS cars, part 2 of the psych one. I just have to edit that. And I will probably post it as a standalone. And then Diana and I will also be hopefully, I'm just roping her back in again, do a longer show where we go through it with you guys. The reason I'm going to post it as a standalone video as well as do it live with Diana is because if you do want just a condensed hour and a bit version, then you can just listen to that. And if you want the additional commentary from Diana and I, then you can watch the one that last time it was nearly 4 hours, I think, Diana. So if people want to watch 4 hours of us or listen to 4 hours of us, then 100% you're welcome to do that. But if you want the more shorter condensed panel version, that will be in the video section. I haven't done it yet, but I will have a chance probably to do that within the next week. And I'm supposed to be recording part 3 tomorrow with Ash and Mel again, but I don't know if we will get a chance just because, like I said, it's holidays here and I've got kids around and it may not work out. So we will do part 3 at some point though. But look out for part 2. I don't know if I've got any other ideas currently for what I'm going to put up as some future videos, but I get ideas at the drop of the hat. The mods probably are like, oh my gosh, like she's going live every day at the moment, and I am, but I only go live if I think I've actually got stuff that's useful. Thank you guys for all your beautiful positive comments. Like I saw a few people sending me some really beautiful support there. Teresa, oh, you're lovely. Thank you so much. And Elizabeth, thank you so much. Like, beautiful comments. I know everyone here is so kind and supportive. I really, really appreciate it. Elizabeth, we send you a big hug and sprinkle of kindness as well. And here's Diana saying the same. What a lovely community, guys. You guys are just beautiful, and I really appreciate you guys. So I'm changing our motto now, guys, to advocate with integrity, but also advocate with integrity and compassion. All voices matter, as you know. That's my my other hashtag that I always love to use. Oh, I lost my last slide, guys. What happened? Oh, there you go. There it is. Here we go. So that's the website, the Richard Allen Justice Project. So advocating with integrity, and that's the promise to you if you join into what we're doing. It's not a cult, right, Diana? Except a cult of compassion, right? Because that's all that we care about here: compassion, fairness, justice. You'll notice that yes, I do have some snark towards law enforcement, but even then, I'm still hopefully advocating with compassion because I'm not name calling. I'm not commenting on irrelevant things about them. Oh, I know what else I was going to say, guys, before I finish up today. First of all, Christine, you said holidays. Yes, in Australia, it is school holidays at the moment. And so it is. I'm just thinking, I was about to say it's autumn, but it's not, it's spring. So it's one of those lovely holiday periods where the weather's starting to turn lovely. So we're going to the beach next week, and I'm super excited about that. But school holidays means I don't have much free time. That's why I'm doing all my lives later at the moment as well, because usually I have a few days off during the week so I can do my lives at a more appropriate time for the US peeps, but I can't at the moment because there is no way my kids will let me do that. Or they will, but then they'll want to be in the background, and there's no way I'm putting children in any of these videos because yeah, obvious reasons there, guys. The other thing I was going to say was exciting news. If you saw on the community board today that oh, Christine, yeah, we say holiday and you guys say vacation. I know people are always telling me that I have my funny Australianisms. Elizabeth, it'll 10 past 10 p.m. 10 p.m. here on Monday. So I'm in the future, as Shubi loves to say. Yeah, we have our Australianisms. We're probably more in line with the British though. So Elizabeth probably won't find what I say too funny, particularly because I was born in England as well. So I actually say dance instead of dance like Australians do. I get teased no matter where I go. But back to the exciting news. So you'll remember that I sent the email to the journalist at the Carroll County Comment about the article cleared that had that quote from Nick McClelland that we basically, unfortunately for him, debunked. And I thought I wouldn't hear anything back. I really didn't. She did reply, and look, it was brief, but I don't think that she would have replied if she completely thought I was just a kook, because she said that she thanked me for sending her the email and said she would look into it. So I know that could just be a fob off, but I also do think that if she wanted to completely fob me off, she could have just ignored me altogether. She didn't need to reply because I'm literally a nobody over in Australia who doesn't have any sway at all, even though I love to call myself the Richard Allen Justice Project. I do believe it's a project. We have 322, my last check of subscribers here. So it is a project. There are a lot of us here. I'm sure some of those subscribers maybe are not with us, but there are a lot of you that are. So we are a project, but I am still a small fish in a very big ocean. And when I say I'm a nobody, guys, I'm not trying to degrade myself. I'm just saying like I'm a small person in a big pond. Bloody hell, mate. We do say bloody hell. I'm trying to think of some other Aussie things that we do. No, I can't think of any off the top of my head, guys. But are you in Germany, Barbara? Oh, I'm trying to think of German. I studied German in high school, but I've forgotten a lot of it. Guten Tag, right? I was good at it back in the day, but yeah, I guess my brain is going downhill now. I don't remember a lot of it. All right, guys, I would love to continue to chat with you guys because you're awesome and I've loved talking to you guys again, but it is getting late and I'm just babbling now. I will continue to update the community page. I'll continue to entertain you guys with some of my silly shorts. So if you ever just want a little bit of fun and frivolity, you're welcome to watch some of my shorts that are more silly. So there's the time that I thought that a tree stump was a kangaroo, and there is a time that I baked a cake for my son's birthday. I recorded it because he was at school and did not expect it to be as funny as it turned out, because the eggs, and I'm still laughing remembering it, fell out of the carton. It's a debacle. My kids find it so funny. And I think I'm just, I just created comedy without meaning to. So I'm sure there'll be more of that to come. If you guys want to watch the short of me, this was probably like, I think I was about 6 months post chemo and decided to have a cool birthday party that was a pool party. And I went on an inflatable water slide in my swimming pool and I got stuck on it like a beached whale and had to get rescued by my son. So maybe that's another video I can put up to make you guys laugh. I think it's nice to throw in some humor because obviously this is a heavy topic. And there are so many times when we look at this case where I think a lot of us feel heartbroken, whether it be about Rick, whether it be, of course, about the girls, whether it be about some of the stuff we talked about yesterday, the bullying and fighting and dehumanizing of people, whether it be the beautiful souls that get together in this community who have often had pretty difficult experiences in their own lives. I think so many of us gentle, sensitive, empathic people have not had the easiest runs in this life. And so there's a lot of stuff that's hard. And I'm always here for the heavy stuff. I'm always here for, being with us, like sitting with you guys, sitting with anyone in darkness. But I think it's nice to also have those comedic moments too. So I am quite a silly person, as if you couldn't guess that already, when I was talking to the crystal ball earlier, guys, which didn't tell me the name of my future husband. I'm going to give Kathy Shank a call. Yeah, I don't think I can get hold of her. Can you imagine, guys? And I know I said I was going to go, but can you imagine what law enforcement over there in that department would think of me if they watch my videos, which I'm sure they don't? Yeah, I don't think I'd be very popular over there. So they probably wouldn't tell me what the crystal ball says, unless it says something terrible. Okay, guys. Anyway, love you all. Like, I really do. I really appreciate each and every one of you. You guys are really brightening my day by being here, by communicating so kindly and respectfully, for listening to me go on and on and on for over an hour. I just really do adore this community of people who have joined my channel and my chats, and I'm so thankful to have met you. Thank you so much to Diana. She is an amazing, loyal friend. She's not just a mod, she's my friend. Hey, Al on the prowl, we're just about to go, but hi to you too. Like, Diana's just beautiful. She's a beautiful person inside and out. So glad that I just happened to run into her, and we've been firm friends ever since. And I'm really appreciative of her, really appreciative of all my mods, all my viewers. Even if you're not in here right now, you all matter to me. And have a wonderful day, evening, night, wherever you are at in the world. Get some sleep, Diana. And speak to you soon. Bye-bye.